If you ever wanted to dye your own tea dyed papers but didn't quite know how, this is a really simple tutorial for you to follow and look at the beautiful results. And I'm going to show you how I achieved this as well. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Kat. How are you all today? So I'm an Australian crafter and I like to create things for junk journals. So here we do things like ephemera, craft with me, and the occasional tutorial thrown in. So today I'm surrounded by these absolutely beautiful tea dyed papers. I have been outside in the sun. It was a baking hot 37 degrees Celsius today. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll put that up on the screen. So the only benefit with that is it's a good opportunity to do some tea dyeing. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to get into the tutorial. So I'll see you in a second with all the materials and the way we go about this. Okay, so I have got a jug of boiling hot water here from the kettle. This is about 3 cups worth. It's not an exact science. Sometimes I'll just do 4 cups, 3 cups, whatever. And I've got about 6 tea bags here that I'm going to just throw into the water, and then I just let this steep. So the longer that you leave the tea bags in, the darker the color is going to be. So if you only want a light wash of tea dye on your papers, then you wouldn't soak these for a very long time. So we'll just put those in there like so. And then I've got some baking soda. So the reason I add the baking soda, and this is like a very large soup spoon, dessert spoon, and I just put just that much in there. And the reason I do this is so that it takes away the acidity of the tea. So we drop it in and then you'll see it sort of fizzes up, and I just stir it around a little bit, and then that is literally it. I just leave that now to steep. Okay, so while that's steeping, I'll put that aside. Okay, so let's talk about the types of papers that we can use when we're doing our tea dyeing process. So I've just got a bunch of, this is what I would call extras. So I've got some tracing paper or vellum paper, so we can throw that in. And then I've got some tags. These are some blue inventory tags. I've got some guest checks here. And then I've got some index cards. I thought these would be good to tea dye because they're, plain white. Tag bases are always good. So I've got some, when I've been cleaning up, I found all these things loose in my craft room and I've corralled them all up for my next tea dye. Another guest check here. This one's a French one. And I've got some envelopes and some index cards, so all of those can be thrown in. This is some plain copy paper. This is literally left over from my last batch that I just didn't get around to. So this is the main core of your tea dye papers. Coffee dyeing is exactly the same process. You're just using coffee instead of tea. And you can do these plain. These have got some stains on it. They may dilute down, they may kind of show a little bit in the background. I just find that stains are good when it comes to tea dye. The more stains you have, the more grunge, the more aging sort of look that you get. And then finally we have got book pages. I kind of stumbled onto this. I'll show you what I do with them. So I've got some dictionary pages and some book pages here. So I just kind of look for things like here, for example, we've got harlequin, halfpenny, just interesting words that could be fun and suit a themed journal that you're doing. So I sort of scan it for interesting words, so I'll put that aside. This is kind of the effect that I'm going for. So these are some book pages that I've then also put a stencil on top of, and then I back the reverse side with some plainer sort of book page, and then, you know, top it with, these are just literally scraps of a lace doily that I would never really, it's a very thick sort of cotton. They would make a good tag topper, so that would be some good ephemera that you can sort of tuck into a journal. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the sorts of stencils that I use. I've collected these over a long period of time, and I've also experimented and I've kind of honed in my way I use stencils. So I tend to go for things like, this is a new stencil, so I'm quite excited to see how this would turn out. So this can go on a whole sheet of paper, and this would be good for a middle of a signature, for example, or, you know, you could fold it in half and you can just get a partial you know, print of the roses there. And then the same with this one here. This one, you know, has got the two corners, so this could be good as well. So this I would use for like a full page. And these ones here, like, you know, I'm collecting for a French journal, so, you know, this would be good. You could definitely put this across a page, and then you could maybe use bits in collage or, you know, backing of ephemera, or you could just place it on the paper and just only use certain parts of it. So the same with this one here. You could put this on a whole sheet of paper and then you could use elements out of it, or you could just, you know, for example, one of the index cards, I could just lay that section on the index card and just get the, you know, the little garden or the little flowers and butterflies on there. These smaller ones I would tend to use for tags, book pages, like I showed you earlier. They'll make a nice pattern. So the problem with these type of stencils is that if you put that onto a sheet of paper, you're going to get your tea dye in the background, then you're going to get your pattern, but then you're also going to get a line and a block of this section here. So this is why I keep an eye out, and I find these really hard to get. If you put this down on a sheet of paper, you're going to definitely get the doily, but you're also going to get a big block around, and that's fine if you want to cut that out, and you may want to use that just as a feature. But these ones here, and the same with this is a lovely, you know, pattern, but again, you're going to get, it could go in a corner, but then you're going to get that outline on the paper. Whereas these types of stencils, and these are, I'm pretty sure these are called masks, you put them down on the paper and then you're going to get the tea dyeing, but then you're going to just get the pattern on the paper. So I find these are really hard to come by, but if I ever see them, I snap these up as well. And then you've got all these little ones like, you know, this is steampunk, but, you know, you've got the clock in the background. These ones you can put on an index card, some sort of tag or something. These, you could run these down the side of a page and get like a nice border, or along the bottom. So this could be fun. Just put this down in a corner and you could literally cut that out and use that as a pocket. And then I'm doing an Australian themed journal, so I will, you know, use this. And the same with this one. This is fun to go across the page. All right, so we'll go outside now and we'll start doing the tea dyeing process. So there's our thermometer in the garden, and that's the temperature forecast. I have now got my table set up with everything ready to go. I've got my plastic tablecloths down that have got all the patterns. I got those from Spotlight. So here I am with my basin of tea solution, dropping in the paper, and I just turn it over. So just get a stack. I try and fan them out before I drop it in, and then I'm kind of going halfway through this pack and I'm turning it over just to get the water in. So that torn bit, don't worry about that. We just pull that out and that can be used for something else. So I'm just taking my first piece and I sort of dunk it both sides, and I do that a few times just to get a good bit of coverage, and then I just drop that down onto the table. And I just repeat the process. I'm just constantly immersing it. I'm sort of wriggling it around a little bit to try and get a corner up. So try and be as gentle as you can. I'm dropping in the tracing paper now, but tears and little nicks are unavoidable. We embrace them here in the junk journal world. So I'm just picking up the papers again. They've been steeping now for, probably 15 minutes at this point. So if you just kind of wriggle the paper just to loosen it to get them up. So here we are, everything is down on the table. I've got some extra tea solution in a spray trigger bottle. So now it's about 37 degrees. Our courtyard is a lot hotter than the actual temperature. And you can see everything is laid out with the stencils on top. There's a bit of a close-up so you can see what's going on, the book page and tag. There's the mask on the envelope there, index cards. Yeah, so now I'm packing up and I leave everything. I do not clean anything off. And this creates lovely, beautiful textures and, aging for the next round. So it was getting a little bit warm outside, so I thought I would call it a day, but I did get quite a bit done. But this is what I've got left over. I threw some doilies in as well, so I'll put these in with my papers ready for my next tea dyeing session. And these are my stencils. They're all dirty with the tea dye, but I don't clean them, I leave them, and then we start the process again, and this will just give more aging and lovely effects on the next round of tea dye. Right, so this is the roses. Very, very happy with how these turned out. This is the page down the edge. So this is the other side too, actually. So you can, fold that in half and have it look like that, or you could even fold it like that and then fold it like that, so you can have a shorter page open out and then have a flip out. So this is this one here. This is the Paris one. I'm actually really, really happy with how this one turned out. So it's kind of come through on the other end, but that's not a bad thing. You can fold it in half and have it look like that, and then have that on the other side of the page. So I've got a couple of those. So this is the eucalyptus leaves. Now I can fold it like that, and then the other side it can look like that. And then you've got that you can cover over with something else, maybe a book page with a pretty flower picture. You can deal with all of that. So there's some more of those. I think we already showed that one, yep. And this is the one with the flowers and all the different markings. So you can have that like that, and then you can have that like that. So it can be a shorter page. So we've got a couple of those. So every page turns out differently depending on where it is in the batch. So this has got a bit of a torn edge, and then you've got this really lovely little doily there, and that's what it looks like on the other side. So you can again fold that over like that, and then you could maybe put a pocket or a side tuck there and then do something else on that corner, so you can disguise that torn little bit. And then you've got this one here, which is more of the plainer, it's picked up the tablecloth on the bottom there. So the ephemera pieces that we did, these are the tags and how they turned out. And these are the book pages, which I can now back with some, blank book page and turn that into a journal writing space. So got some more here. I did some envelopes, so they're just all ready to go by themselves. Maybe just add a bit of lace or something. So easy ephemera to just throw in. This is an index card which I might use somehow in my Australian journal. This one here, you can use that for so many different ways and different themes in your journal. Now this one here, I deliberately kind of pushed it to this side here so I can turn that, fold that in half, and then that can become a nice bit of journaling card. And again, this one here, I can you know, put some trim up the top, fold it in half, and I've got a journaling card. So I just also wanted to mention things like your avocado dyed papers as well. I haven't got any avocado at the moment, but I definitely do exactly the same thing. So these are some pages that I've done in a previous batch. So the way you do the avocado is you just take your avocado skin and the pips, and then you put them into boiling water in a pot. And I've actually got a saucepan now that I've upgraded to another saucepan, so I've kept this older one and I'm using it for this sort of thing. And you just boil it away and it turns this lovely sort of beautiful pink color. And then you do exactly the same thing. You do a avocado solution in the whatever reciprocal that you're using, and then you dip your papers in, and then you use the stencils exactly the same way. Okay, so this is a tea. It is called Butterfly Pea Flower Tea, and this will give you a lovely blue tint. So I ordered this on Amazon, but you could probably find sources like a, you know, tea house or something like that. I've been drinking it actually. It's really very good for you. It's rich in antioxidants, and you know, it's just got a lot of health benefits to it, but it gives this lovely blue tinge to your papers. Now I did have a little bit left in a cup that I'd forgotten about, and luckily I remembered. So I quickly did these ones. So, you know, if you're doing a themed journal, like for example Alice in Wonderland, this would be an ideal opportunity to use it. So I've got some book pages, and I threw in some lace doilies, and you can see that they've got a lovely, hopefully that you can pick that up on the camera. This one here, it didn't look like it was really going very blue, so I just got some, you know, I sort of put my finger into the solution and then I went like that and put a few extra droplets on there. But then I added the stencil onto the tea dyed paper, and oh my goodness, I am just in love with this. And the Paris one, you can see this lovely blue tinge, and this one, but you know, bringing through the tea dyed solutions. Yeah, so I had a little bit left, and I thought if I soaked it a little bit longer into the tea dye, so this is still wet, but this has been soaking for probably about 30-40 minutes, and it definitely has gone a deeper blue. And these are some other ones that I did, and I did an index card, so I don't know if you can see the blue tinge on that. But I did want to talk about, you know, the damage that can happen with your tea dye paper. So you can see we've got a little bit of a tear here. So there's a few things that you can do. You can get some aged sticky tape and you can just repair it, and that would be a lovely look as well. You can get other tea dyed paper and you can fold it over and sort of bandage it, glue it together, and then you can run a zigzag strip or some sort of decorative strip down there. That would look pretty as well. So there's lots of inventive little ways, and you can get these little nicks as well. So for example, this one here, the dragonfly specimen and the butterflies, the dragonflies kind of didn't work out, it got a bit muted, so I just got to rub on and just put it over there, and then it had like a little nick on the side, and so I just got a little bit of washi, and that's what it looks like on the other side. So you've got yourself a tag. You might want to do a little bit of stamping up the top there, you know, get some script, and then, you know, put like a hole reinforcer and a journal topper on it, and you've got yourself some lovely easy ephemera. So I hope you found this helpful. You know, this is my process of what I do. You're going to get different results every single time, and some of your papers are not going to work out as well as others. So, you know, you can always use those for backing tags. You can use them in masterboards. You can, you know, use them as strips to repair other pages. You know, honestly, there's so many uses that you can find for them, that, and you can tear them up and use them in collage. So nothing ever goes to waste. So guys, that's it for another video for me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could give us a thumbs up, that would be great. And if you haven't subscribed, it'd be wonderful if you could consider subscribing. But any comments, please feel free to ask any questions and I'm happy to answer them. So guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.